everybody, and welcome to another episode of the It's the Pitchers podcast. This is episode number 207, and I am your host, Max Covill. Evan is out on a trip right now. He's away. I'm not sharing where he is, but he's away. He'll be back soon for the next episode, probably. And in the meantime, we have a terrific guest. I'm going to introduce her. My guest this week is a critic, columnist, and host who has spent over a decade honing her skills in the entertainment industry. She's previously held roles as the entertainment editor at Future and as the streaming editor at IGN. She currently continues writing in a freelance capacity on her newsletter Pickety Witch and as a contributing editor at Fangoria. Please welcome to the It's the Pitchers podcast, Amelia Emberwing.
Hi, Max. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. I know we've been talking a little bit about this. It's like I had to plan so far in advance because we were bi-weekly podcasts, but I'm glad that we nailed down time to talk.
Yeah.
I think we have a great topic today. We're going to talk about Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone and their collaborations together. I think I was joking with Evan about it on one of the previous episodes, or even off the air, where I was like, we didn't have enough material to go fully into Yorgos as often. Like we typically go really deep into directors, but I was like, I'm kind of like an every other Yorgos Lanthimos fan.
Yeah.
So I definitely haven't seen all his movies, but I have seen most of his collaborations with Emma Stone. Amelia and I will go deep into his collaboration in 2018, The Favorite. We'll also talk about Poor Things, which is the 2023 film. We'll just very briefly say that Kinds of Kindness is a thing, because I don't think either one of us have a lot of history with that one. And then we'll go into the most recent one, the new release, Bugonia, which came in theaters recently, and I had an opportunity to see last week. Interested to dive into that one a little bit more. But before we do, we're going to talk about the news. And there's some interesting news out there. One of the first things that kind of stood out to me, Amelia, and I don't know if you know this about my history or such. I'm a big fan of Japanese anime, and I get a lot of gigs writing about anime.
Yeah.
So when I read that director Chloe Zhao, who's done films like The Rider and Nomadland, and coming soon to theaters, Hamnet, she's collaborating with Kodansha Studios to create live action adaptations from their manga library. Immediately, the Deadline article on it picked up titles like Akira and Attack on Titan, certainly two of the bigger properties that Kodansha would probably try to turn into films. But certainly the library's pretty deep, and there's other titles like Tokyo Revengers, Blue Lock, Initial D, and plenty others. I don't know. I think this is a great opportunity for them. I think that Netflix has proven that there's a market for it. Maybe not with Cowboy Bebop, but with One Piece, certainly. Have you watched any of these adaptations? Are you a fan of the genre?
I was a big fan of 90s, early aughts anime. So most of my anime knowledge comes from that era. I have watched both of the adaptations that you're talking about. Cowboy Bebop was irredeemable. One Piece is trying real hard. I like most of it. But it's one of those things that I'm just sort of maybe this genre just isn't for me anymore, and I'm gonna let other people go into the space that makes them happy. Obviously, Cowboy Bebop made nobody happy. But broadly speaking, people seem generally on board with One Piece, and I like seeing Chloe expand her horizons. I have a complicated relationship with Chloe Zhao's work. She loves her landscape establishing shot, and beloved, you're wasting my time. I they're definitely necessary, but she just really, really likes it, and like especially in her longer films, where you're like, okay, we don't have to do this again. I don't. We're good. But that said, thrilled to see her expand her horizons, and like I think the way she perceives beauty and the way anime handles beauty, I think is a really interesting partnership, especially depending on the title of which she takes on.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of fears that like there's been like 8 different attempts to bring Akira to like a live action American audience, and people are just like, we don't ever want to see that. But like, there's people who I guess who have bigger pockets or dreams than us want to see happen. But I don't know. I've never been too keen to want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Uh, keeping on that note, kind of like animation adjacent, certainly not anime, but um, this week there was news, and we were pretty much just waiting for the news, but that K-pop Demon Hunters is pretty much set to get a sequel. They're planning to bring the Huntrix back into action in 2029. And the first response I got from a lot of people when I told them that that was the timetable for it was like, wow, that's a really long time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
No, I was just gonna be like, well, it's animation, but you could start.
I like that they are giving themselves time to make sure that they find the right script, like the next chapter of the story, because where we end, I'm like, I don't know how much more information I need about this, even though I really like it. But it is especially with digital animation, that's a good long time that we've got going on, and we see it as a problem in series a lot of just like I think Invincible on Prime Video is a perfect example of this. Like it took them 3 years to release their second season, and then they released it with a bad strategy. Like they released it in parts. So not only was the audience pissed that they had to wait 3 years, they were also pissed that they had to catch it in gaps. And so I'm really worried that that long time period is going to impact them. And like, obviously, don't rush with something that isn't ready yet. But also, Netflix is very prone to delays outside of all of the extenuating circumstances that we have seen in Hollywood over the last 12 months with strikes and what have you. So like there's also potential for it to be even later than that, and I'm just like, you are killing your momentum, and I would recommend maybe not doing that. But it's Netflix, and they're going to do whatever they want to do regardless.
Yeah, like I definitely see it. Like maybe like they'll think about it like what and Disney and Frozen have done is kind of like do these like little drips of content come out every now and then. Maybe they'll make like a 10-minute short or something that like
Yeah.
here's Huntrix and what they're up to now, and um because yeah, 4 years is a lot to keep in people's minds, and maybe something like Spider-Man can do it with the Into the Spider-Verse movies because he just has that name quality. But
Hmm.
like people would be like, yeah, well, that was cool all those years ago, but I don't know if I need it again.
Yeah, for sure.
And not to mention, like so much of K-pop Demon Hunter's success is its fantastic soundtrack, which was nominated for a number of Grammys over the weekend. And I'm sure it's difficult to, to make another hit song. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so we'll see what ultimately happens to that. It's definitely not the last we'll hear of K-pop Demon Hunters until 2029. I mean, I guess all the toys are set to come out next year. The market will still be plenty flooded with them.
Right.
But I know you talked about this on Blue Sky, Amelia, and I was pretty excited too. And I don't know what it really means, but uh, the trades are reporting that Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are in talks to return for a possible Mummy 4 movie. And I have no idea what that means in 2025.
This is the only thing I care about. I'm so dead serious. I wish I were kidding. This will be my entire identity until that film releases. I'm so happy. And like especially because, the one of the first things that they talked about when they discussed the development of it is like it's happening and it's absolutely ignoring 3,
Hmm.
which we as a collective conscious is all have all just sort of unilaterally agreed is happening regardless. Sorry if Rachel Weisz is not here. No, go home. This is not what we're doing. I am so thrilled at the resurgence of Brendan Fraser and seeing him get his renaissance that he deserved so much. Obviously, Rachel, Queen, I want to see you in everything. We're going to talk about her more soon. Um, just I could not be more excited for this title. It's physically impossible.
Yeah, you might have read more into it than I have. Do you know if there's any word that like whether or not they're going to be at the front of it, like the main stars, and like?
So Universal declined to comment. That is the implication because you're not going to bring both of them back without, like, I don't think this is meant to be a handoff, like the setting up the next era of the mummy. I think this is very much closing closing a chapter, and maybe if we get the Mummy 5, it would explore that more, but I like my impression is that this is very much about their characters. None of that's confirmed. All of that is assumption and like what has just sort of been collectively cobbled together through independent reports. Um, but part of what makes it even more exciting is the radio silence of it all. I don't know how you feel about the screams. Obviously, I'm done with them for a multitude of reasons now. But I thought 5 and 6 were really strong. I really enjoyed them, and I really liked how radio silence honored what came before, but very much made their own film. And I think they've had such an interesting track record throughout all of their pictures that I like in addition to Frasier and Vice returning, just yes, I could not name a creative team that I am more excited about taking this on. Like they literally it was like the trades were like, "You know what? Give the people a win. Give them a thing." And they did.
Yeah, I'm glad there's a lot to actually comment on with that because like Brendan Fraser has had such a renaissance, and I know for people who even didn't love him in The Whale or necessarily didn't want to see that movie because of its subject matter, and um they could be happy for him and just say like, oh, that's a movie I might never watch. Um, I'm glad that he's had other roles. The upcoming Rental Family, which I had a chance to see in Toronto, is a really great role for him too. And I'm sure if you haven't seen him in a role in a while, that's a great stepping stone to see how great of an actor he is. Um, as far as Radio Silence goes, I haven't seen the two more recent Screams, but I saw Ready or Not,
Mhm.
which I really love that movie. I think that's like really fantastic. So, yeah, if the audience doesn't know, I assume if you're listening to a movie podcast, you do know who Radio Silence is, but it's like a collaboration team. That's what they go by.
They make great, great movies. Abigail also just so fun, so good. I love it.
So yeah, great. Mummy returning, possibly. Not a pun, given Mummy 2 is called Mummy Returns. But yeah, the I know that the first movie is a classic through and through and a great action film. So I'm very hopeful for a possible Mummy 4 and what that means. The next news was actually, I guess it wasn't like released in a press release or anything, but it was just because like Jennifer Lawrence is doing her press tour for like Die My Love, and she was like on a podcast with Boeing Yang and Matt Rogers, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna tell you that I'm producing this new Miss Piggy movie," and like Broadway star Cola Scola is going to write the film, and not only is Lawrence attached as producer, but apparently Emma Stone is as well, and they'd like to appear in the movie. Uh, that sounds great. I mean, like, yeah, let's give Miss Piggy a movie.
I love every single person involved so far. Um, Miss Piggy is my absolute least favorite Muppet. I have zero interest in anything that's happening here, but I'm so happy for everybody who's participating in it, and I hope it makes them lots of money.
Yeah, it's like it's. I'm a big fan of the Muppets, and they've seemed to take a lot of blows lately, especially with
Yeah.
like Muppet Vision being closed down, and um, it seems like maybe Disney didn't know what to do with them.
Mm,
And I know like some of my favorite rumors are like, oh, let's do like Muppets Pride and Prejudice, which I'm still kind of for that. That'd be fun, but like, um, this might even be more interesting to give like Miss
right,
Piggy solo movie and see how that goes.
for sure. And like, listen, I can't stand the character because I hate how much she abuses Kermit. So giving her her own movie where she doesn't have the opportunity to do that, 10 out of 10.
All right, so that is going to do it for our news. And now we're going to transition into our feature topic this evening, which is our discussion of director Yorgos Lanthimos and his muse, Emma Stone. They've worked together on, I believe, 4 feature films now, and maybe a short, I think I was reading in my research. And I don't know, it's been very fruitful for the both of them. Uh, Yorgos has, you know, the movies have been nominated very soundly by critics all over, whether or not, um, if that means anything to you. I know Olivia Colman won a Best Actress award for her role in The Favorite. Emma Stone won a Best Actress award for her role in Poor Things. They have a fruitful relationship where I guess they're both very happy. She's getting roles that interest her, and he's getting someone who's willing to go with whatever he's willing to do. Did you have a comment about their relationship, or maybe your history with Yorgos Lanthimos?
So you kind of said something that really is indicative of my relationship with Yorgos Lanthimos in that he's real hit or miss for me.
Hmm.
Um, I either really like it or I really don't. Kinds of Kindness's nihilism is not for me
Hmm.
at all. Um, but every other thing that we're discussing today is like, well, no, that's a lie. We'll talk about it more later. But
Yeah. So.
I respect, but I do not enjoy Begonia.
Hmm.
Um, so I think what makes their partnership so interesting to me is that both of them challenge each other and that both of them bring out the best version of each other is the best way to say that. Like their working partnership is so engaging. And the same can be said of Jesse Plemons, to be honest. But
Hmm.
um there I like the way they make each other view things in new lenses, maybe is the best way to say that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that if you like one Yorgos Lanthimos film, that doesn't necessarily mean you like all of his works. That there's a lot of directors who you could say like, oh yeah, if you like this one, there's chances are you'll like XYZ. But um, Lanthimos, he's not only known for maybe these films. These are, I guess, more well known due to the Emma Stone's involvement and their um awards credentials. But he had movies like Dogtooth and The Lobster that were well beloved before.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like another one that I didn't see was like Killing of a Sacred Deer,
Mhm.
and that is just like, again, not for me. So it's very much like I need to find what he's doing and see if that interests me.
Right. And I think that is is something that is a credit to him more than not. Like I like the fact that, oh, am I going to enjoy this? So on the flip side of that, I guess a good example is also like DaCosta is constantly doing different films, but she's yet to make a film that I dislike. But bottom line sort of remains that I like that Yorgos is always doing something new and it never looks or feels the same. Like a Spielberg movie is a Spielberg movie. Obviously, Spielberg is one of our greatest living directors, and that's not a knock on Steven Spielberg in any capacity. But going back to what you said before, like you know what you're getting with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, certainly. There's those directors that you can just like buy your ticket, sit in the chair, and kind of just have expectations for the movie, and maybe that's not the case here. But let's go ahead and start. I guess. I guess from our initial conversation just there, I would assume like for me and you, a lot of these films, these collaborations, do work for us. And this first one was 2018's The Favorite, where Rachel Weisz plays Lady Sarah Churchill, who's like a duchess, and she's like really entranced in this um society, and the main right hand lady of the Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman. And late one day, Emma Stone's character Abigail Hill kind of like arrives at the castle, and she gets a job as like a maid, a really low level, and she has aspirations of growing, and she figures the best way she could do that is kind of like attaching herself at the hip to Rachel Weisz's character and discovering what makes her so successful.
I think the very best part, like aspect of this movie is that it is the Marie Kondo meme of I love mess. The Favorite is just mess, the movie, not in the way that it's created from a technical perspective, but the story is just messy bitches being messy bitches, and it is so fun watching every single person play off of each other, just like, and being their most chaotic, demonic, awful selves. It's just hysterical from top to bottom. And the fact that it is buoyed by, performances by some of the most remarkable actresses over time is just like, mwah, perfect.
But yeah, so Olivia Colman, he just knocks it out of the park. She's fantastic. Every line of hers is like this perfect like black comedy, but like almost sad too.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because she's I guess like suffering from like some kind of like illness or like skin condition, and she needs a lot of care, and like I don't know if she seems like she's always like all there mentally.
Yeah.
um and maybe these women kind of take, or not only these women but also people of her house kind of take advantage of her.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what Lady Sarah is doing. Like her function is that like they do both care for her, but Lady Sarah is doing what she is doing because she gets to control England. And then Stone's character Abigail had lost her station and found a way to get it back if she like glommed onto her. Like her and Sarah used to be friends, and it just becomes mess, 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 mess immediately because Abigail's entire plan is, well, I lost my station, so I'm just gonna take yours, and then it works for a minute, and then it doesn't. And then just the competition between the two of them, juxtaposed against like Coleman's Queen Anne, the melancholy, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
there just makes it gives it so much depth. So you're sort of like cackling while you're also like, oh, that's actually like really sad, and also screw all these people, but also, oh no, this is really funny.
Yeah, I guess like while I was describing it, I guess if you think that his next film, Poor Things, is like a new twist on the Frankenstein story, maybe The Favorite is kind of like a different adaptation of All About Eve, and where like one of these women is kind of like take over the other one's life.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I really like The Favorite. I do want to revisit it. I haven't seen it in a little while, but like I know that that movie made me a fan of Olivia Colman for life, and I think there was a movie that came out maybe 2 years ago called Wicked Little Letters. I think you can find it on Netflix, where she stars opposite Jessie Buckley. And I'm like, the movie isn't like super interesting, but the fact that they're both in it kind of makes it worth watching.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Was there anything else you wanted to add about Favorite before we move on to the next one?
I think so. I love mess. But I usually don't. But I do in that movie because it's really well articulated mess.
So, their next collaboration would be a few years later, which is what we already alluded to was Poor Things, which is the story of Emma Stone as Bella Baxter. She's in this body where she was a her original body, I guess, died because she committed suicide, and her brain was put into her like her unborn child's like body or something, if I remember correctly. And William Defoe plays like the mad doctor. If you were to say like he's almost Dr. Frankenstein, who like comes up with this concoction of a person and tries to like raise them, and it begins really odd, right? Because like Emma Stone has to like play an infant, but she's in this full grown body.
Right. Uh, this is absolutely my favorite Yorgos Stone partnership. I think Poor Things is an adaptation of Frankenstein, but it is absolutely one of my very favorite reads. Author Alice Dare, sorry, Gray, wrote the novel that Poor Things is based on. Um, and sort of it you have to go further back. So when you think of Frankenstein adaptations, like so no, rewind that. When you think of Frankenstein, a lot of people think of the 30s film Frankenstein instead of Mary Shelley's original text. So Poor Things, Gray's book, kind of goes back to the feminist read on Frankenstein, and like way like it's doing its own spin on the Frankenstein story, but giving a lot more of the Mary Shelley of it all, the weirdness of it all, and returning to form in that way. And so Poor Things comes along. Could not be more excited. I also think this is Yorgos at his most visually stunning.
Mhm.
Um, but getting the opportunity to see their partnership take on this very feminist tale, while also dealing with Stone, who is a small child in a woman's body, and watching her go through like these key moments and discovering who she is as a young woman and then as a woman is just, it's so fascinating. And what Stone brings to the table here is it's just god tier. It's my favorite performance of hers, which is, it's a tall task. Like, she has so many incredible performances in her filmography. But what she does as Bella Baxter, both from like the sadness and the fear and just the unintentional comedy and the bluntness of all of it, is so perfect. Like, if you'll excuse me, I have to go punch that baby is one of the best lines in cinematic history. Like, her delivery of that, I laugh every time I think of it. It's just, it is so impeccable. Watching what everybody does here, like making a sympathetic version of the Doctor is damn near impossible. Uh, but Godwin Baxter is absolutely written that way in Poor Things, but like Defoe brings an added level of sympathy to it, and like even though like you did all of these things without my consent, and like the film challenges him on that, which is what makes it so engaging. Is Bella coming home and being like, you did all of these things to me, and I understand why you thought that it was acceptable, but locking me up, keeping me here, deciding who I marry, all of these things, like that is so fundamentally unacceptable, and just sort of taking all of those moments that are just sort of socially acceptable outside of the extremist of it all. Like it's having social conversations through extremes, like whether you brought a corpse back from the dead or whether you just treat women this way, like it having those conversations in the level of the extreme while also being funny, wildly entertaining, stunning is just so good, so good.
I'm certainly that now I'm thinking about. I'm certainly glad that I have you here to talk about Poor Things, because it definitely reads, you know, much different coming from uh, female audiences as opposed to two white men trying to get on here and say how much they
Yeah.
like it. Um, but yeah, I mean the movie continues to grow throughout, right? And not only that, but Emma grows. She meets Rami Youssef's character Max McCandles, and he kind of like comes into this fold, and he's like, at first he's like, I don't know if I should be like going along with this, but like he's interested too.
Right.
And then of course, Mark Ruffalo really comes along, and he's like, I could take advantage of this situation,
Hmm.
and he kind of like whisked her away on this great journey, and he soon learns that like what he thought he could control, he has no control over.
None. None. And like Ruffalo is so fun here because like everything we know about Ruffalo, like climate conscious, socialist, just all around good dude, like constantly chasing these things, who frequently plays like decent characters, like kind characters. And so when he gets to be just a fucking monster, it's so fun. It's so fun because he's so good at it and he doesn't do it super duper often. So, like, him coming in as just like this awful, awful man who is so frustrated by like watching him go from I'm in control, I have all of this, you answer to me, you do what I say, to just like basically a role reversal of like him throwing the tantrum of like, oh my god, you obnoxious, impossible girl. It's perfect. It's so good. He does so well, and them playing off of each other like as that non-relationship evolves is so great.
Yeah, I think there's this, not only does is the dance sequence incredibly memorable. I love that. But you see like like stages in their relationship, and it's like Bella starts reading, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "That's not a
Can't
good idea."
read.
And
Yeah, it kills
he,
me.
yeah,
It kills me. And like Rami Youssef is so sweet. Like his character is important to the story, but I'm just also like I can take you or leave you, and I think that's kind of the point.
hmm,
And I respect him for like being comfortable in that because like not a lot of actors would be just like like no, you're not the point here. She is, and
right.
they do such a good job illustrating that, and like uh, Dr. Baxter's like realization as he's dying, all of it, chef's
Mm.
kiss.
Yeah, and like you said, like I guess like I didn't see it in Bugonia, so maybe he did use it in Poor Things specifically, but like Yorgos and I guess his collaborators who did the cinematography, they use like this like fisheye lens almost
Hmm.
at sometimes, which is pretty interesting, and like it shows maybe like how her confinement in her life
Yeah.
before it kind of her world kind of opens up.
Yeah. I think he saves that trick for his more like fantastical stuff, which I really like, cuz like in Begonia, if you saw that you'd be like, "Why are we why is this happening right now? Which is weird to call Bugonia a grounded movie given its subject
Mhm.
matter, but you understand the intent there. But I think visually, uh, from a stage production perspective, like every aspect of Poor Things is absolutely his most stunning film. It's just so pretty to look at in every way possible.
Yeah, and I remember like when finally saw it, like it's hard to be a film watcher and come into a movie like maybe a few months after it's made its premiere at like something like Venice or something, because like the raves are already there and you're like, oh, how could it possibly live up to what those audiences kind of thought, and you have that kind of already built in your head. But I'm happy to say that Poor Things, for me definitely lived up to whatever expectations I had of it, and I was very impressed from it. Even like the kind of like airy soundtrack is really fascinating in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. It's just from top to bottom perfect. Sinners was that for me this
Hmm.
year, and I can't remember what happened, but I had to miss every screening that was available. And so I saw it like 2 months later and was like, okay, well, I was really excited for this movie, and there is absolutely no way that it lives up to the insane amount of hype that has been thrown at it. Nope, sorry, it's better. It's better. It's better than that insane amount of hype. It's so good, and I think Poor Things, like obviously it's difficult when you've seen it first, but like I think it's one of those that regardless of when you come into it, like you're gonna be blown away.
Yeah, it's very much unlike a lot of movies out there, which, um, I talk about this as people who see a lot of movies. We generally latch on, or at least I'll speak for myself. I latch on to things that like I feel like I haven't seen before,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh, this kind of fascinates me.
Yeah,
Um, so maybe that's what really excited me about Poor Things.
definitely.
And so like I said, I don't think either of us have seen Kinds of Kindness. That was their like really quick follow-up 2024. I guess it's a almost done in three chapters. I've done some research on the movie,
Yeah.
and um it has some collaborators back. Joe Alwyn, who we didn't mention, but he was in The Favorite. William Dafoe once again, Emma Stone, of course, and Jesse Plemons, and they're among this very large cast of uh, this three-chapter movie.
Yeah. I had to watch it recently for a backstage piece.
Oh, okay.
Um it's less told in three chapters, and it's more like it's an anthology. So there are brand new characters each time, and it's we don't need to spend a lot of time here because I don't it's a bad movie. I don't
Okay.
enjoy it in any capacity. My thing about nihilism is um I will allow it when the socioeconomic situation is good. But when it is what it is, nihilism is simply boring. Like you're not doing anything interesting. Congratulations, you think nothing matters. You exhaust me, please go home. And that is very much the function of Kinds of Kindness, of just like no matter what you do, you will always end up at the same spot. Blah, blah, blah. Performances are good, like it's technically well made. It is my most reviled Yorgos Lanthimos film. I truly cannot stand it. Maybe in the magical future where we get out of all the shit that we're in, I will revisit it and have time for it. But like part of it is simply when it released, like get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah,
You're
I
boring.
don't
You're
I
boring to
don't
me.
have time for that.
Yeah, nobody has time for this. Like that's it. That's sort of the root of it. Is like you Yorgos is such a fun director because he is always a fundamentally interesting director. There is nothing interesting about Kinds of Kindness. Nothing. Do not like. 0 stars. It's well made and it's well acted. It's not 0 stars. It does have redeeming qualities, but broadly speaking, keep it.
Yeah, yeah. Save your 2 hours and 40 minutes for something else.
Indeed.
That brings us to his new release, Bugonia, which is a remake of a South Korean film that came out, I think, in 2003. In the film, there is that original film and this film. There are two guys who, you know, they're kind of conspiracy esque type of guys who kind of believe in these crazy things. And one of the things that they believe is that this high powered CEO is actually an alien. And they believe that if they capture this alien, um, they're doing something great for the world. Uh, playing these two guys is Jesse Plemons as Teddy, and his cousin is played by Aiden Delbus. His name is Don in the film. And the person that they capture in Begonia is, of course, Emma Stone, who plays Michelle Fuller. Uh, Furthermore, I guess like you kind of alluded to it, this is a very grounded film, even though it's talking about aliens in some
Yeah.
way, because like a lot of it takes place in one area or one house. Even
Hmm.
it's very much like, here's the basement. They're gonna have all these like long monologues where they like face off one on one against each other, and we're gonna see how that goes. And I find that Begonia is most interesting when it says that like the dangers of like living in like an echo chamber, or like being this type of person who like believes that like, I don't know, if you believe that the earth is flat, right? Like, and you'll find enough people that will tell you that the earth is flat, and you'll become convinced with that idea. And that's where I think Begonia is most interesting. And I'm certain we'll eventually talk about the ending of Begonia. But let's give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about it, Amelia.
I think you nailed the majority of it. What you're saying about what when it's at its most interesting is true, which is what makes its ending such a pity. And Save the Green Planet has the same, like, ultimately has the same outcome, but they tell it better. Uh so this is definitely one that I respect, but I do not care for. From a technical perspective, it's very well made. Emma Stone is as always giving an impeccable performance, but this is very much Jesse Plemons's movie in like the performance regard. He's one of those actors who will just like change his body on a whim
Mhm.
for whatever role he takes on, and like for this one, like it was so extreme that I was like, I'm 87% sure it's you, especially because I went in knowing it and I know your partnership with Yorgos. Is it you? Why do you look like that? So, like, always very impressive what he's able to do on that side of things, health questions notwithstanding. Please take care of yourself, Jesse Plemons. But the overarching story is where Yorgos loses me. And the intent of both films is very similar. It's very much the same. And what I will say about the end is I think it's a lot more hopeful than people think it is. Like she was trying to help. She is upset about what is happening. It's not just like, oh well, fuck them. Like it's a devastating blow for this person. But I think the most compelling scene of the film for me, and I know that I've just said that this is Clemens' movie, which I still stand by. But the most compelling scene is between Michelle and Dawn
Mhm.
in the basement when they're having that conversation. And she is trying to help him understand what is going on and how she can help and how we can all get out of this situation. And the outcome of that conversation and her horror over what occurs, I think is the most interesting thing that this film does, because it sets you up for what's coming later, but it also, like, it's the most human moment in it, because the thing about Clemens's character is that he feels the most alien out of everybody. Just so stuck, and so, like, obviously he's filling a very human archetype, but she has a moment later when she discovers his little room, and she just screams at him, how many were actually these creatures? Like, how many people did you murder? And I think, like, those aspects of it have a really compelling story behind them. But the problem is that that's not how it ends, and it validates so much gross shit, and, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously,
Well,
obvi-
let's get into that.
yeah.
So, we kind of hedged around it so far, and sorry if you figured it out why for us doing that, but we're gonna go full spoilers on Begonia now, and you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're in full spoiler territory.
It's listen, depiction is not endorsement, but right now, I don't think maybe we do a film that validates every psycho conspiracy theorist on the fucking planet. Maybe we
Right.
don't do that.
I was like, when I watched the ending of this movie, I'm like, if this is like a remake of like an exact 1-to-1 of Save the Green Planet, I'm like, even that, I'm like, that's a little easier to stomach in 2003, where like 20 years later, we're like, oh, we have white supremacists everywhere, and like this
Yeah.
world is like people are being influenced from all things
Mhm.
and being told their opinions are correct. And by saying that, you're saying that whatever Jesse Plemons decided to do in this movie to torture this person who he didn't know was an alien.
Right.
Emma Stone is an alien in this movie. It's
Yes.
revealed. He didn't. It's always kind of like, is she or isn't she?
Yeah. And she does such
And
a good job, like, maintaining that, because, like, she'll have a moment where you're like, oh god, maybe she is, and then you're like, no, that's insane, shut up, and then lo and behold.
but like once you confirm that she is, and like he could have been like the savior of all mankind for this like bullshit thing that he was thinking up, it gets really gross.
It and so it's not meant to be a funny scene, and her character, like, Michelle absolutely reacts to it as if it is a horrific moment. When Teddy blows himself up, I just straight up guffawed in the
Yeah.
movie theater. Like, I'm sorry, that is hysterical. That is so funny. Um, but yeah, it's just, I like the ultimate ending when we are with the aliens and she is mortified about what she has to do,
Yeah,
and it's
I mean, in this situation, she's found that through her experience being locked up in a basement, she found that maybe humans aren't redeemable.
redeemable. Yeah, like, it's, which again kind of goes back to the nihilism problem of Yorgos, and something that you touched on that I think is really pertinent here, and it goes back to my kinds of kindness frustration. Like, some of it, sometimes you gotta pick your moment, Yorgos, and you are 0 and 2 for releasing a film with a certain message at the correct time. Like, it's why? And again, like, I want to go back to all of the performances, because this is a film that I respect. I don't enjoy it. Like, even outside of, like, the story frustrations, I thought it was a slog a little bit. Like, I am not, I'm not opposed to a chamber piece. Um but like it puts the lotion on its skin of it all just sort of got old, and then we break up the back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with the dawn scene in the basement, or the spaghetti scene, which is so fucking weird for like I say weird for no reason, but the reason is it's Yorgos Lanthimos, and I both I love that, and also why. Well, like I fall on both sides of the spectrum there with this one.
Yeah, and then I guess like as you watch the movie, you realize like maybe like Jesse Plemons, he is definitely cuckoo bananas, but he's also like manipulating his cousin into like this like whether or not there's aliens or not, where secretly he has this other vendetta. He
Hmm.
has like his mother is in a coma, and the reason because of that is because of the company that Emma Stone is the CEO of did some experimentation on her.
Yeah, and so I think what you've just said sort of unlocks my overarching frustration with the narrative here is taking on big pharma and exploring that. That's compelling. And it's like maybe we're going to do like you spend most of the movie being like, okay, maybe we're going to do that. Maybe the whole alien thing is an allegory for something,
Right.
and we're going to learn a few things, and we're going to have a conversation about this major problem, particularly in the United States. No, she's just an alien, and the conspiracy theorists were right.
Yeah, maybe he could have been using this like alien story just to get his cousin on board, because
Hmm.
like maybe that was like something he could digest, as opposed to be like, oh, we need to get revenge on this lady for like making my mom almost dead. So
Yeah, because like they do present Don as a bit of a dullard. And so like but he's also the only one with empathy out of the two of them. And so it's just like what happens to him is so tragic, and again you think might be a part of a broader conversation but really is not.
right, I mean they make a big point at the beginning of the movie that they're going to be like sterilized, and some part of me is like, we never get confirmation that Jesse Plemons actually goes through with this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, did he just do it to his cousin to like f him up or
Yeah.
something? I had no idea. So
Yeah, and like maybe it's the real monsters were human all along. Maybe that's the intent, but also you're not saying anything interesting with that in the year of Our Lady 2025, sir. We've done this. We've done this.
yeah, so like you said, like maybe I was on board. I would like the movie more if the movie could have left it ambiguous, and whether or not she was an alien or not. I mean, like
Yeah.
I think like then we could have like kind of like came to our own fruition, and like whether or not they were heroes, or whether or not they were crazy, or whether or not they were just like poisoned by what they found on the internet or what have you.
Yeah.
Um
I
but
think
by really confirming it, it's like you're really like saying, oh, they were justified in doing
yeah.
that.
I think like that filters into the overarching problem in that I would say that this is Yorgos's most heavy-handed film. Like the bee metaphor got old 10 minutes in, and endlessly throughout the entire rest of the film. Like we get it. We get it. We understand what you're trying to say. We don't need to add time to this runtime for us to have this moment with the bees. And like the cop character was his whole arc and all of that was just so fundamentally unnecessary. Like it's just yuck. Yuck.
Yeah,
For
I
what?
never really got it either. Like, did he like bully him, or like I'm like, does he feel guilty about that now, and that's why he's
Yeah.
like following him?
And like that's the whole thing that we hear him repeat ad nauseum, but like his final moment with like I'm gonna try and molest you or whatever, and then the
Right.
bees, it's like are you are you trying to illustrate to me that this guy has multiple sides to him? Because it's not necessary. He kidnapped a woman and has her in his basement. Like,
Hmm.
I don't, you're not actually giving me much depth to this character. And are you trying to tell me that he's capable of murder? Because I was pretty sure about that early on. And then you confirmed it 15 minutes later with the scene where she discovers his little lab. Like, why was this entire arc added to this movie? Who can?
Yeah, so I guess like I agree with you, and I think we're both mostly in agreement that like Gonya's a well acted film, um, but it kind of drops the ball with its message and its ultimate solution. I guess there's people out there who would argue like, oh, should you say a whole movie is a junker if it doesn't land the ending? Um, maybe I don't feel that way about every movie, but I feel pretty strongly that this one kind of ruined it. So
Yeah, like it fully depends on the movie. Like I think Thunderbolts is a great example, like on the blockbuster side of it, in that I love 99.5% of that movie, and the last 3 minutes of it turned me off so bad that I went, I don't actually enjoy this film. I'm done though. Thanks. Goodbye. I don't actually want to participate in this. And like, the whole ending thing, like, listen, Stephen King is one of our greatest living authors. And that motherfucker struggles with endings more than most. And we still like the majority of his work. So like it's not that that's a universal, oh, if you have a bad ending, you told a bad story. But sometimes when you have a bad ending, you told a bad story.
all right. I don't know if this is the end of the Emma Stone Yorgos Lanthimos collaboration. Certainly they look to have a good working relationship, and maybe they'll have another movie for us to hem and haw over in 2-3 years later. But yeah, I think like 2 out of 4 in this case isn't so bad. I really like Favorite and Poor Things. Um, Certainly, I wouldn't tell somebody like if they like those two movies, they should go explore his other
Right.
movies.
Yeah, which goes back to what we were talking about early on. Like it's the thing about like his wins is they're so strong. Uh I think Poor Things is a perfect movie. Uh I think The Favorite is also very 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 good. And then we've got these other two. So like it speaks to how strong of a voice he has,
Hmm.
that it's a love-hate relationship with his filmography. And I think that's interesting and good for him as a director.
Right, he's always interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
You're never bored. You might be mad, but you're never bored.
right. All right. That's be the end of our Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone conversation. Before we get to the what you've been watching section, I'd like to remind the audience where they can find us and listen to the show. You've been listening to the It's the Pictures podcast. You can find us on Blue Sky at itsthepictures.bluesky.com, or you can find me, maxcovill.com, on Blue Sky. Just search for Max Covill as well. We have a Letterboxd account, an Instagram account. You can find the podcast on YouTube. You can see videos there now. We also have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music if those are your preferred ways of listening to the podcast. Um, Amelia, how can they find you?
You can find me across the internet at that witch Mia. My handle is the same across all social platforms. You can read my newsletter Pickety Witch at picketywitch.com. And that's pretty much where I live on my own little corner of the internet.
Okay, and then I wanted to add that the you can find the It's the Pictures newsletter now on Ghost. We've left Substack behind and launched on Ghost and try to make a go of it there. We've released a few new newsletters. I reviewed the new Springsteen movie, which I thought was terrible. um, and uh, I'll be really by the time you hear this, paid subscribers will get the first look at the holiday gift list, which I spent quite a long time putting together, which has movies and books and video games and miscellaneous. So check that out, and if you like it, let me know, and continue to make great newsletters for everybody. Okay, great. Let's go into the what you've been watching section where we give an opportunity to our guests, and sometimes if it's just Evan and I, to talk about something that we haven't talked about during the podcast. I will hand it over to Amelia. What have you been watching lately?
So two things that I want to give a shout out to. I just caught up on Hedda, Nia DaCosta's well, maybe by the time you listen to this, not most recent, but her current film before Bone Temple releases. Um, it is so exceptional, as is the case with basically all of DaCosta's work. Yes, the Marvels also come at me. Um, it is just, it's so beautiful, and Tessa Thompson is doing the most as always. And it is now on Prime Video, so absolutely seek that out. I do sound like a Prime Video shill because the other thing that I'm going to shout out is Hazbin Hotel. Season
Mm.
2 is now releasing, and the full of season 1 is there if you have not watched the series at all. It is an adult animation that focuses on hell and its princess who believes that sinners can be redeemed and sent to heaven, and the misadventures of her and everybody at her messy hotel as they attempt to accomplish this mission. It is hilarious. The music is impeccable. I listened to the first soundtrack more than I care to admit publicly. We are now on episode 4 of season 2. It releases 2 a week. It is exceptional and hilarious and challenging and nice. And it's also just really well illustrated. Highly recommend.
No, I'm glad you mentioned Hazbin Hotel. I had an opportunity to review season 2 for Pop Heist. So I hadn't watched season 1 yet when I took on the assignment, so I got 16 episodes of Hazbin Hotel to watch. And yeah, I enjoyed myself. I I don't I don't know why it didn't originally connect with me. Maybe I thought it was just kind of like kitschy that it was like a musical with
Right.
also being about hell. Um, but it kind of grew on me, and certainly like it's like an A-list Broadway talent. Like
So much insane talent is associated with this show. It is wild, just like Broadway all stars from top to bottom. It is wild listening to all of these people voice these characters.
right. I think the most recent one that aired, if they're on episode 4, was probably one of my favorites, where it talks a little bit more about Alistair and his situation.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're behind on that, or if you think about watching it and haven't yet, give it a shot. It might surprise you. For me, I've been watching another popular show, this one on Netflix, which I watched the first season pretty much because everybody told me to watch it. They were like, Max, maybe you'll have an experience like this, because um, I'm Jewish, and I was able to watch it from that lens and see like how, ridiculous it could be, or if it was really on the nose of like trying to like someone not in the faith get into Judaism. And I guess I could see why people enjoy it after watching season 1, but I had my reservations, and I've watched just about almost half of season 2, and it's breezy. It's not like uh anything that's gonna like make you upset. And this nobody wants this season 2 continues, the relationship between like Kristen Bell's character and I forget who plays Adam Brody, I think is the male lead.
Hmm.
and the real heart of it is like how much chemistry they have together. It's like, yeah, you could buy them like in a room together and like talking to
Right.
each other, and that's kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas like what the actual show is not anything super special. I mean, like she is a podcast influencer, I guess, that she has her own like um dating advice show with her sister, and I'm sure if people were listening to it at home found it a lot less interesting when she got a long-term boyfriend. Um, but we'll see how it goes. I wanted to kind of watch that to mix up a little bit of what I've been watching on and talking about on the newsletter. I know like this was a huge week for new TV, Amelia. There was like this show like Death by Lightning, which was a mini series on Netflix about like President Garfield that's been getting rave reviews, and Apple TV Plus had the new series by Breaking Bad creator, yeah, like Pluribus, I think, with Rhea Shehorn, and so like really big weekend for television. So um plenty to watch out there if you're in the market for it. And yeah, I think that wraps it up for us, Amelia.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I mean, it was a pleasure. Yep, I enjoyed this conversation on Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone, and talk about the news and some of the things we've been watching. um yeah, catch Evan. Hopefully, he'll be back for the next episode in about 2 weeks' time, and we'll get one out before the Thanksgiving holiday. Amelia, I always thought to myself, I like that, like before the holiday episode, because it's like people could listen to something while they travel.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see if that happens. I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
um, but we'll see if that ultimately happens. But again, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and yeah, hopefully you'll join us again sometime.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.